A fierce gale roared through the Wyoming peaks as if determined to devour the entire valley. Jacob Hale huddled by the hearth, clutching a mug of stale brew, when a sudden rap jolted him upright. 3 faint, quivering taps. Jacob's brow furrowed. What soul would brave the fury of this tempest? He snatched his shotgun, edged toward the entrance, and eased it ajar. A savage gust exploded inward, hurling flakes and frost, revealing 3 silhouettes huddled against the onslaught. 3 Shoshone women. Their garments hung in shreds and rags, their raven tresses stuck to their cheeks. Their uncovered souls were pale and rimed with caked crimson. Their features were gaunt, gazes stretched wide with dread and weariness. The eldest, lean and resilient, held her posture as best she could, her tone gravelly and faint. "Please, let us step inside your shelter to thaw. We haven't tasted food in ages. Folks have shunned us and left us to the wild." Jacob stood rooted. The hearth's flicker played over his visage, etched by grief, now locking onto another's anguish. A piece of him yearned to bar the way, to cling to the isolation he cherished. But then he caught the stare of the littlest one, feral, haunted, and hollow, and his fingers shook. He swung the door broader and shifted back. "Enter." The trio staggered across the threshold as the panel sealed shut. The wailing gale was banished beyond, and within the humble dwelling. All that lingered was the ragged gasps of spirits grasping at their final shreds of solace in a ruthless frost. The blaze in the hearth sputtered alive, banishing a sliver of the chill that clawed at the timber walls. Jacob heaved in a hefty branch. The inferno seized it swiftly, bathing the ashen, grime-streaked countenances of the 3 Shoshone women in a soft amber sheen. The senior one, whom Jacob would soon know as Lena, claimed the spot nearest the flames. She shed her sodden wrap and tenderly guided her kin to rest. The second, Mira, quivered head to toe, her mouth shaded violet. The tiniest, Kira, seemed so delicate and spent that each inhale whispered like a farewell from the brink. Jacob ladled steaming liquid and placed a weathered cast pot before them. Within, he mixed his scant reserves, a bit of simmered lentils and crumbled chunks of flatbread. It mirrored the fare he'd rationed through the season. The 3 eyed it as though it were a mirage. Lena murmured in Shoshone. As Jacob inclined his head, they devoured it with unsteady grips, as if dreading it might dissolve ere it nourished. He perched opposite in quiet, nursing his brew, observing. Ages had passed since this haven pulsed with vitality. No more mere gusts, now sighs, the ting of utensils on metal, and the gentle sizzle of embers. Once sated, Jacob rose and fetched a pair of coarse quilts from the alcove. He draped them softly over their forms. "Rest here till dawn. We'll sort the rest come light." Lena glanced up, her gaze firm, yet weary. "We'll depart at first gleam. We won't impose, but thank you for not sealing us out." Jacob held his tongue. He'd just spied the shadowed welts on her arms as she smoothed her siblings' locks, cord scars. He halted, grasping they'd endured not just famine, but torment. As Kira slipped into slumber by the hearth, Mira uttered in a strangled hush. "Our clan exiled us. They claimed, 'My kin draws misfortune.' Raiders struck, claiming lives, and they pinned it on us." Lena kept mute. Beyond the gale shrieked on, but within him another echo stirred, the murmur of mercy, long dormant since fate stole his beloved and their little ones. He rose, fed the blaze more fuel, then murmured low, his timbre parched and coarse as weathered bark. "Remain. Venture forth when the heavens lighten." Lena met his eyes long, then dipped her chin, lashes wet with unshed sorrow. That eve, Jacob reclined on the sturdy settle, attuned to the even rhythms of the three newcomers dozing by the glow. The squall still moaned without, yet for the first span in epochs, it rang not so forlorn. Come morn, the vault hung leaden still, drifts heaped to the railings. Jacob unlatched the portal, and a sharp draught struck, urging him to tug his collar snug. He'd meant to rouse the trio and urge them onward ere the squall renewed. The modest abode couldn't sustain 5, and Jacob shunned intruders in his realm. Yet nearing the hearth, Jacob stilled. The wee one, Kira, lay coiled on the planks, her frame racked with shudders. Her cheeks blazed scarlet, breaths clipped and faint. Jacob brushed her brow lightly, scalding. "Fever's taken her," he breathed, turning to Lena. The elder lifted her head, orbs pooled with terror and plea. "Grant us a touch longer, till my little one mends." Jacob scanned the trio before him, ravenous, drained, yet clinging to grace. He exhaled deep and leaned his firearm aside. "Fair enough, but lend a hand with chores." From then, the hushed homestead hummed with treads, muted chuckles, and the pulse of existence. Mira, the middle kin, claimed the hearth duties, crafting from parched grains, scant flour, and brook nectar. She conjured repasts redolent of pine char, coaxing Jacob to savor bites anew after barren years. Lena aided him afield, splitting logs, mending the pony shed. Her palms were calloused yet sure, each heave of the blade bold and assured, like one forged in untamed realms. Jacob marveled in stillness at her prowess matching his own. Kira lingered ailing, Mira vigilant at her side, nestling covers and coaxing sips. Jacob kept a vessel of heated fluid handy, rising at each rasp to stoke the blaze. As dusk waned, the sisters clustered by the hearth. Mira crooned a hushed Shoshone melody to Kira, while Jacob honed his blade, ears attuned in quiet. The tune was soft yet poignant, weaving with the gusts beyond, birthing a harmony the walls had never cradled, the cadence of being. When gloaming fell, Lena swaddled her siblings, then faced Jacob and whispered, "We'll slip away once the gale ebbs." "I vow," Jacob answered plain. "No haste, mend first." The blazes' gleam frolicked o'er their visages, 3 outcasts now harbored in a solitary man's nook, and in that tender, wordless trade of looks, a shift stirred, gradual, profound. Without, the draught wailed through fissures, swelling in mournful swells, akin to spectral howls. Within the snug timber hold, ember light cavorted, crossed the beams, limbing 4 forms ringed round the warmth. 3 dawns had waned since Kira's heat yielded. Freed from dread's clutch, she nestled 'gainst Mira's flank, a shy curve on her mouth as she hearkened to the snap of fuel. Jacob lounged close, methodically whetting a wee cutter. None uttered a sound, but the hush bore no burden now. It soothed, it healed. 'Twas Lena who pierced it. "We dwelled beyond the ridges once," she rasped, stare riveted to the blaze. "Our folk trapped twixt pioneers and patrols. One dusk they surged, torched all. My kin fell to bullets. They couldn't flee swift enough." Her orbs gleamed damp. She faltered, drew a ragged lungful, timber snagging. "They deemed me hexed, unfit to endure, banished from the fires. Ever since, we've wandered, gnawing tubers, bedding in drifts." Mira bowed low. Kira clutched her palm. Jacob laid the blade aside and regarded her. Ember sheen mirrored in his slate gaze, a depth laden with reminisce. "I grasp it," he murmured soft. "Grief claimed mine as well, the plague. My pair of tots perished in mere days, and my mate, the void undid her, She trailed them soon. None voiced more, save the draft's lament and Blaze's muted bursts. Yet in that void a tide turned, kinship. Mira laid palm to the lentil cauldron, stirring tender, her tone even. We figured none lingered who echoed that hollow. Jacob eyed her, nodded. Too many reckon sorrow saps the spirit. Truth is, survivors alone ken true fortitude. Those utterances lifted Lena's chin. Ember catch lit her ebony depths, and there she sensed a rarity long fled. Faith. They lingered thus till midnight. No further yarns, no balm sought, but as Lena peered across to Jacob, twixt two the fates had spurned, an unseen thread wove in the stillness, a tie. I'm deeply thankful you're here, Jacob said, voice thick with feeling, letting the words hang, drawing you in, like a shared secret by the fire. If this tale stirs echoes of rugged trails and heartbeats under starlit skies, then hit that like button, drop a comment on what touched you most, and subscribe to my channel, so we can gather here daily, and I'll spin another yarn from the frontier. On the fourth dusk, the firmament plunged to ink. The draft bayed, crossed the heights like a maimed predator's keen. Squalls of flakes pelted the walls, hauling a bite that pierced marrow deep. Jacob glanced from his task. The hearth's gleam wavered faint, harbinger of true tumult. He surged up, donned a stout mantle, and barked firm. Lena, aid me shore the entry. If this gale swells, the beams'll splinter. Lena, wordless, rose and cloaked herself. The pair dashed to the veranda, crystals stinging like barbs. The shed flap thrashed mad in the maelstrom. They wrestled it, lashing cords and spiking planks. The blast so savage, each stride demanded all sinew. Mira and Kira burst forth, guarding a sputtering lantern. The wan amber quaked amid the fray as rime tangled their strands and exhales wreathed vapor. This way, swift, Jacob bellowed. A resonant snap, a slat from the flank tore free. Lena sprang, merging with Jacob to hoist it firm. In a heartbeat, their grips overlapped on the stout spar. Flank to flank, flesh iced, yet at their clasp, an odd heat bloomed amid the chaos. They toiled ceaseless past the hourglass. When the final latch held, Lena slumped to the boards, vapors billowing thick. Jacob extended aid, drawing her upright. You steady? Once I thought frost would claim me, she husked, timbre frayed, lips bruised indigo by chill. But not this eve. They held the gaze long. The gale yet thundered round, but the hold endured. Within, Mira fed the blaze. Kira doled heated draughts to mugs. Jacob sank by the warmth, sight trailing Lena as she daubed rime from her tresses. She lifted, met his regard. In that fleeting span, no outcasts, no wariness, mere two once lone hearts, converging in winter's maw. Without, the tumult endured, Jacob silent. But his gaze's thaw trumped discourse. Mira and Kira reforged the plot, seeding maize, lentils, gourds. By dark, they kindled pyres and intoned ancient Shoshone lays. Their tones meshed Jacob's mouth organ, sailing o'er flats like invocation. Span by span, emerald surged. Chutes pierced parched fissures. The outbuilding hummed with beast bellows. Brooklet downhill ran limpid, mirroring their budding grins. One dawn, gilt orb cascading fields, horsemen re-emerged from Willow Ridge. The elder and kin halted at pale, appraising, no more barren. Ere them bloomed a vital claim, maize knee-high to rider, pens teeming, chimney tendrils from roof. Jacob emerged, doffing brim, tunic soiled with clay. Flank him, Lena erect and sure, siblings aglow in beams. The elder hushed long, then vented deep. Unthinkable, you wrought it. Jacob plain. Not lone, as one. Whispers swelled the throng. Means eased, one doffed lid, Another flung kernels to loam. Tacit welcome. The elder bobbed, faint, wheeled mount. They earn bide, Willow Ridge craves such folk. Once vanished, Lena faced Jacob, lips tight, 'gainst surge. So, we're deemed fit to endure. Jacob grinned wide. True, first in ages, not mere endure, thrive as one. That gloaming, they partook harvest of own toil. Zephyr bore mazes tang, vapor wreathed roof, and in Eve's blush, Jacob, Lena, Mira, and Kira sat aligned. None voiced, unneeded, for on this stark, untamed soil, they'd claimed a veridical haven. Beloved kin, in realms rife with bias and strife, oft one heart's grace outpowers any blade. Jacob sheltered not from woe, but faith, each spirit merits a fold. 'Twas that tenderness rekindled dawn in three who'd forsaken gleam. Affection blooms not in oaths, but in joint labor, in palms that rouse earth and souls anew. It's been pure delight weaving this weave for you, cherished flock of frontier lore tales. Wherever fate plants you, may warmth and serenity root deep. I cherish you all, truly. Share your heart on this yarn in comments. Did it stir your spirit? Smash that like if it warmed you, and subscribe for more gripping sagas from the untamed. But within, the glow outshone ever, and as Lena leaned to feed a bough, Jacob's knuckles grazed hers anew. This turn, neither withdrew, letting that quiet spark linger, pulling at your own guarded hopes. The morrow, the gale, had ebbed. For the first in spans, the orb pierced clouds, streaking gilt o'er the plush drifts. The ether hung serene, save the patter of thaw from the eaves. Jacob trod the veranda, vapor curling, palm braced on the lintel. The vista swathed in virginal white, as if turmoil ne'er raged, yet scars lingered, askew rails, stray slats, hoarfrost agleam on the outbuilding. Aft him, light footfalls. Lena emerged, clad in Jacob's bulky wrap. Her ebony mane gleamed in dawn's kiss. She scanned the vast mantle, timber hushed, airy as zephyr. Never dreamed we'd weather the dark. Jacob loosed a scarce grin, easing lines carved by gale and glare. All tempests yield, just tend the spark. That lit Lena's turn to him, the blaze not mere and great, but innate, that ember repelling lone year's frost. Mira and Kira joined, cheeks flushed rose by rays. They chortled as fowl ventured wary from the hutch, quaking. Their mirth wafted like thaw's herald. In ensuing days the hold's rhythm shifted. Mira ordered the nook, draping linens o'er boards, suspending dried blooms by panes for fragrance. Kira aided Jacob with steeds, oft murmuring ancient chants in toil. Lena and Jacob patched the outbuilding crown abreast. They labored wordless, yet synced. Once, as Lena faltered, Jacob steadied with gnarled yet true hold. She merely breathed. Gratitude. Then veiled her curve. By gloam, the quartet ringed the board for Eve's fare. Few phrases, mere nods as Mira proffered seconds. The hold rang no more with draughts alone, but utensil chimes, subdued glee, blazes murmur. One twilight, post Kira's doze in the settle, Lena lingered by embers, tracing flares. We reckoned no nook endured for us, Jacob replied low. There is, demands traversing much frost to claim it. Without, rhyme yielded gradual, and in that wee timber nest amid woods, a seed took root, serene, plain, vivid as breath, hushing even draughts to heed. The frost thawed leisurely, bearing sodden loam and a brooklet meandering the lee. Budding vernal ether bore whiffs of verdure and hope's murmur. Jacob and the trio kin set to restoring the stead. Lena and Jacob felled boughs, appending a wee annex to the flank, a tacit pledge they were kin, not transients. Mira sowed lentils in tilled beds. Kira slaked the plot and minded the gaunt flock that braved the chill. giggles, fowl clucks, mallets' thuds fused, reviving the soil. Yet one dawn, as the disk crested, hoofbeats resounded afar. Jacob peered up. Rays danced off rails as quintet horsemen neared, foremost Willow Ridge's elder with sundry villagers, their means stern as flint. The elder reined at the pale, flinging a chill, scornful leer, pon the trio by the beds. "Hail," he hailed, voice keen and curt. "Words out you've sheltered wild folk on your claim. No room for them here. They must depart forthwith." The breeze iced. Mira recoiled. Kira seized her palm. Lena reared tall, blaze in gaze, mute. Jacob advanced, weathered grip on rail, his timbre even, deep, crisp. "They're no aliens. They're my blood." A murmur rippled the band. The elder glowered. "Blood? Madness gripped you? They're Shoshone." Jacob unyielding. "Aye, but they staved the frost from this stead. They toil, they kindle hearths. If exile falls, I trail with 'em." The throng tautened. None foresaw the hermit buck the hamlet's edict. Lena eyed him, stunned, and in her depths a firmer root struck. Utter faith. The elder hawked, paced his words. "Keep 'em if you will, but Willow Ridge starves no drones. Revive the ground. Sow, herd beasts, reap yield. One cycle. Thrives? They bide. Fails? Be gone." Jacob inclined, gaze flinty. "One cycle. Sufficeth." As the band wheeled, their wake's haze lingered. Lena drew nigh and queried soft, "Why stake that? Dread their return?" Jacob rasped, akin to gloaming draught. "None claims right to oust my kin from hearth." Mira wept free. Kira clasped her fierce. Lena stilled, scanning Jacob long. Then a muted bow. The quartet pivoted to the claim, where barren loam and keen winds beckoned. But now they'd sow beyond grains, sow faith, survival's grit. That bloomtide, Willow Ridge ne'er beheld a vernal so brimmed with promise. Mild gusts cascaded from crests, wafting tilled loam, damp timber, and stray chortles from a humble stead, where quartet turned desolation to bloom. Jacob stirred ere haze lifted, scarred palms clasping the spade. He and Lena toiled unceasing, carving channels, staking beast pens, caulking every rift in outbuilding crown. Each mallet blow, each bead of toil sealed a pact to infuse vigor anew in the mute turf. Lena, in a mended hide shift, strode as sentinel. She lugged drafts, bore fodder, her bronzed limbs taut 'neath vault. When Jacob offered aid, she merely beamed. "I scaled crags for quarry once. This? Mere breath."